One of the best things that you can do for your playing is practice exercises. Some of the best exercises that you can practice come from real music. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 excerpts from Bach's Presto in G minor that will make amazing and challenging exercises to improve your picking. Let's check it out. Example number 1 of Presto comes right off the top. This is basically what you could consider the main theme. And it's going to begin in G minor. We're going to start at the 3rd fret. And there's going to be a melodic pattern that goes like this. You're dealing with 2 notes at a time. Low note, high note, back to the low note. And it's going to continue through a full G minor arpeggio at the 3rd fret. It's going to go all the way through that, and you're going to maintain that melodic pattern from note to note. So, you'll notice here that I now went from the 2nd string to the 3rd string, both at the 3rd fret. Notice I didn't roll it. I find a lot of players roll it, or they'll find some other method like a string skip in order to get these notes happening. But what I discovered is if I spend a bit of time with a mini shift where you actually use different fingers for each note, there I went from strings 3 to 2 and back to 3. 2, 1, 2, both at the 3rd fret. Now for that, I'm using middle, index, middle, and then from string 3 to 2, the opposite, index, middle, index. And I've got it down to a fine enough movement where I'm not having to overlap fingers like you would think. It's not so much that they're actually kind of hanging out beside each other, but I'm using my arm to do a mini shift to accomplish it. Now that took a little while to get to that point of refinement, but and I'm still getting better at it. That's what I would recommend trying for this part of it. You certainly can roll, but it is trickier. It's a lot more movement going on with just your one finger, and the chances of it being not as clean goes up greatly by doing it that way. But anyway, let's continue through. String 4 to 3. The rolls are gone, but now I'm going to use my pinky for the 4th string, 5th fret, because I'm going to do the double finger thing again here at the 5th fret, strings 5 to 4, both at the 5th fret, and then my pinky is now free to grab the 6th string, 6th fret, and finally landing you here on the 3rd fret, 6th string. Once you're there, you're just climbing straight up the arpeggio until you reach the G on the 1st string. And I do, in fact, maintain the same finger options that I used on the way down for that pattern. I'm going to use them on the way up. Index, pinky, ring, pinky, index, middle, index. Now when I first learned this piece, I did all this stuff with rolls. Whenever I had adjacent strings at the same fret, I did roll them. But I've gotten away from that lately, and I'm kind of enjoying the process with not doing it that way. The second part of this section is a little bit of string skipping. It's going to go through a G minor to D7 tonality thing here back and forth. 1st string, 3rd fret. We're then going to play 3 notes on the 3rd string. We're going to play 7, 5, 3. And on the 4th string, 7, 5, 4. So all this is G minor. When it goes to the D7, it's going to begin here on the 4th fret, on the F sharp, on the 4th string. Now you notice I just rolled. I don't avoid rolling altogether in any case, but in this case I decided that the 3rd finger would be better to roll with here, and I'll show you why. After we do the 4th fret and the 4th string, I'm going to play 5th fret, 5th string, back to the 4th, and then 7th fret across strings 4, 3, and 2. And I did that because now my first finger is lined up for the next note. Right? So now starting on the 1st string 5th fret, we go to the 3rd string for 3 notes. We're going to do 8, 7, 5, and 8, 7, 5 on the 4th string. And once we get here, we're back to a G minor. This time the arpeggio is going to look like this. I am going to roll that because it makes the rest of this easier to maintain. So 5th fret on the 4th string, we're going to roll to the 5th string and right back. Then 8 on the 4th, 7 on the 3rd, and 8 on the 2nd. So this section. Now at this point, you can literally loop the whole thing. So right here, you can go right back to the beginning and do the whole thing in its entirety. Or this section that I've designated to be one big chunk, you can loop each individual portion of it. You can loop just the arpeggio bit down here at the 3rd fret. Or you can loop that section in and of itself. Either way, it's a great start for this piece. Okay, the next section that I've extracted from the piece ends up being kind of an interesting string skipping motif that is not uncommon, I suppose, to a lot of like regular guitar style string skipping. The part I like the most about this, or the aspect of this particular phrase I like the most, is that it's also in a way a pedal tone lick. Pedal tones traditionally have one note that keep recurring, like where one note keeps coming back. You know, you hear Yngwie do stuff like that. Vinnie Moore, a lot of players over the years have done those kind of things, and to be honest, they've borrowed those from violinists or classical musicians in general. It's kind of a common composing technique that you would hear in that style. But in this case, what reoccurs is not just one note, it's technically 3. So here's the part, I'll show you how to get this going. We got 4th string, we're going to do 3 notes, 5, 7, 8. Then we're going to jump to the 1st string and we're going to do 6, 5, 6. Like that. You're going to notice that as we progress through this is going to keep coming back. So your initial 3 notes, then the pedal tones. Then we're going to just take this idea that we had on the 4th string, we're going to move it to the 3rd string, 5, 7, 8, back to the 1st for 6, 5, 6. Now we're going to go back to the 3rd string, and our initial notes are going to be 7, 8, 10. So we've shifted up a whole step here. Now we're going to do the 6, 5, 6 again, but here's how I get to it. From this point, since I've moved up, I'm going to put my index finger on the 6, shift the index finger to 5, and then bring the middle finger down for the last 6. So, both of those were within the 5th position area. I didn't have to move my hand anywhere. Now I'm going to shift to do those 3 notes, 7, 8, 10. And there's where I'm going to do index, index, middle. And finally, the last part of this bit, 2nd string, we're going to do 4, 6, 8, and you guessed it, 6, 5, 6 on the 1st. And the final part of Presto that I wanted to show you is a very interesting intervallic kind of a phrase here, which I found really cool. Also a bit of a pain. There's plenty of moving around with the pick, multiple variations of notes per string that make alternate picking challenging, but that's why we're doing this, right? We're not looking for the easy stuff here. So the first idea here, the motif that we're going to be using here, we got 3 on the 4th string. We're going to do 2 notes on the 3rd string, 7 and 3. So, okay. Then we're going to go to the 5th fret on the 4th string and the 7th fret on the 5th string. So you got, and then it's kind of a, I would call this an elongated diagonal, for lack of better words. It's diagonal, but with a fret in between. So we've got 3 on the 3rd string, 5 on the 4th string, and 7 on the 5th. And the last note of this basic idea is 5 on the 3rd string, which I'm playing with my middle finger. That's the idea, that's the basic motif that gets kind of jumped around here. So I'd start with just that. Okay, now that idea gets moved around. We're now going to shift it to a different string set and different fingerings here, but you'll notice that it's the same basic idea in terms of the structure. So 5th fret, 5th string, 2 notes on the 4th string, 8 and 5. Then we're going to have 7 on the 5th and 8 on the 6th. And then the last note of this will be 7 on the 4th string there. Advisable to loop that as well. Oops. So now we've got... Okay, one more spot for this particular phrase. We're going to be here down all the way at the 1st fret on the 5th string. This one's going to be the stretchiest, but it's still pretty reasonable. 1 on the 5th string, 2 notes on the 4th string here. We're going to do 5 and 2. 4th fret on the 5th string and 5th fret on the 6th string. Landing us here on the 4th string, 3rd fret, which closes the pattern. I'm going to add the next 6 notes here as a way of not only showing you that the pattern's broken here, it's a different idea, but it completes what I would call a loopable cycle here. So after this part, we're going to round it off by playing 6 string, 3rd fret. I'm using my index finger. I'm then going to go to the 3rd fret on the 4th string with my middle finger. So both notes are at the same fret, the 3rd fret, but I'm going to use different fingers for that instead of a roll. Index finger for the 6th string and middle finger for the 4th. From there, we've got 2nd fret on the 4th string, and on the 5th string we're going to do 5, 4, 2. Kind of like that. So the way it comes out of this, little finger twisty. And put it all together. And there you go, part number 3.